are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I am Johni, Larck on Twitter. Here to talk to y'all today about Auburn basketball. Nothing really going on in the football sphere, but basketball coming off a very impressive win over Mississippi State. Their first game without Johni Broome able to play, and they take down Mississippi State in dominating fashion by 22 points, 88-66. I won't spend too long on the whole recap thing because, it's going to be a short show today. I'm recording this a little later than I would like to, so be a shorter show. So going down the box score, you had a lot of minutes spent by the starting five, and even putting Todd Pettiford into that conversation as well. 34 minutes out of Chaney Johnson, 29 out of Dylan Cardwell, 25 from Chad Baker-Mazara, 28 from Denver Jones, and 29 minutes from Miles Kelly, with 21 minutes of Todd Pettiford, 14 with Ja'Kai Howard, and 12 minutes for Chris Moore. And then lastly, 4 minutes with Jaheim Hudson. So, how did Auburn dominate in this game? Well, they did so with 5 players getting in double figures and 1 getting 9 points. You saw the emergence of Chad Baker-Mazara as the number 1 guy. 20 points from CBM, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Sadly, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. You hate to see it. He also had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, a steal, and 2 blocks from CBM. You also had 17 points from Chaney Johnson, who combined that with 8 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 4 blocks from Chaney. 2 blocks from Dylan Cardwell with his 9 points, a steal, assist, and 5 rebounds. Miles Kelly had himself a double-double, 13 points, 10 rebounds. Also had 2 steals mixed into the loop as well. Denver Jones, 13 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, and a rebound. You also had 6 out of 6 free throws from Denver Jones. Now going to the bench, you had 12 points from Todd Pettiford, 3 assists, 4 steals for Todd as well. Then 14 and 12 minutes from Ja'Kai Howard and Chris Moore, and they both had 2 points each. Simo also had 2 rebounds, and Ja'Kai Howard got in on the block party himself. So, Auburn shot the ball extremely well against Mississippi State. You look at 55% from the field, 41% from the three-point line, 80% from the free throw line, and you just got off on a day where Mississippi State could not make a 3. I mean, you read the totals that Mississippi State had: 0 of 4, 0 of 2, 0 of 1, 1 for 5, 2 of 10, and 0 for 2, going 3 of 24 from the three-point line. And I feel like that could be a big thing with why it happened. I mean, Josh Hubbard had a pretty decent game, 17 points. RJ Melendez had 15 points. Cameron Matthews was not a factor with only 4 points for the Bulldogs. Keyshawn Murphy was able to come in off the bench and get 11 points for himself. So, look at this Auburn team. Johni Broome, again, was not playing, but they were able to answer back. They found rotations that worked. I mean, all it does is it just kind of gives more minutes for a few guys. You saw 7. They split up what you get. You get like 37, 36 or 35 minutes from Johni Broome, and all you do, you sprinkle in 35 minutes across an 8-player or 9-player database. And Chaney Johnson having almost a double-double is outstanding. I mean, 4 blocks from Chaney is exceptional, because that's the kind of night you get from Johni Broome. Chaney had to step in that role, and he did a great job of doing it. But the season doesn't get any easier after this. Mississippi State's a good team. They had a bad night shooting. Who knows what the game would look like had they been able to make some of these shots. I mean, Auburn made 7 more threes than they did, and that kind of attributes to the 22 points that they were down, 21. So a free throw going up. But if some shots went Mississippi State's way, it's going to be very, very close. But ifs and nuts, Arcadium nuts, if Merry Christmas, or whatever the saying is. This Saturday, Auburn has to take on the Georgia Bulldogs, the number 23 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And this game will be in Stegman. This game is going to be in Athens. This is going to be a tough environment to play in because, if you think of like the past few years, Auburn has struggled when they have gone to Athens to play. And Georgia is not the team they were a few years back. They're not the laughing stock of the SEC right now. They are a team that has taken down the likes of Oklahoma, has taken down Kentucky, and they beat Kentucky, by 13 points. Not a team to bat an eye about. And what does Georgia do well? They shoot the ball pretty well, 47% from the field, 32% from the three-point line. They also are getting about 38 rebounds a game. They're passing the ball around the place, 14 assists per game as well. 5.6 blocks a game, 8.3 steals, and they're averaging about 78 points a game, which, Auburn's averaging 86. But without Johni Broome, this game does become a lot tougher. And I said that about Mississippi State, and I was wrong because, the Auburn won that game by 22 points. But Auburn is a completely different team at home than they are on the road. Now, I won't even like neutral site Auburn's a different beast still. I think whenever you have to go to another team's environment, another team's arena, coliseum, stadium, or whatever, you get a different Auburn team than what you get whenever you play at home. And if Auburn wants to be this team that can win the SEC regular season title, can win the conference, can win a championship, you got to be able to beat teams like this. You struggled against Duke. You struggled against Texas, came out with a win there. Struggled against South Carolina, came out with a win there somehow. But Georgia is better than both South Carolina and Texas. They are. They have a guard, a forward who's averaging 15.3 points a game, 6.6 rebounds per game, leading Georgia in both categories. But the thing that Auburn has going for them in this game, for the most part, is height, except for Asa Newell. Asa Newell is a guy who I'm mentioning, 15 points a game, six rebounds a game. It's a 6'11" freshman. And I think Dylan Cardwell is going to be massive here for making sure that offensive and defensive boards do not go in Georgia's favor. If Auburn wants to beat Georgia, they're going to have to win the rebounding battle. And, 6 rebounds a game for a guy who's 6'11", not the best stat, but when you combine that with, your best rebounder is, in fact, Johni Broome. He's not playing in this game, at least to my knowledge. But you need to be able to rebound in this game. Georgia's also a team that moves very fast with the basketball. Dakota LaFou is averaging 12 points a game. Silas Demery is 11.9. Deshane Montgomery, 10. Tyron Lawrence is averaging almost 10 a game. So you almost have 5 players on Georgia who's averaging 10 points a game, which, Auburn has that going for them. So really, Auburn is going to have to continue to play their best brand of basketball no matter what. Play it throughout the year, never get tired, just keep it going. But I want to say this Georgia team is going to be Auburn's first, I don't want to say first real test in the SEC, but you squeaked out wins on the road this year already. But again, Georgia is a really, really good team, and I am shocked to have been saying that in reference to the Georgia Bulldogs on a basketball court. And of course, this team is also, they're 2-2 in the conference. They've lost a couple games themselves. They lost to Tennessee yesterday, and they got turnover and play this game on Saturday. 74-56 against Tennessee. They also lost to Ole Miss. They're 2-2 versus ranked teams, but I mean they've beaten Kentucky and Oklahoma pretty by double-digit points, but they also lost by double-digit points to both Ole Miss and Tennessee. It's gonna be a very interesting game. A game that I'm gonna say that Auburn gets the win. It will not be pretty. It will not be. I definitely think that Georgia can give Auburn every single fight imaginable in this game, but Auburn is going to have to continue to prove that they are a different team without Johni Broome. They're the same team without Johni Broome. You did that beating Mississippi State by 22, but you got to be able to win these games on the road. Georgia is a tough opponent to play. I cannot ever say that enough. Georgia's not the laughing stock of the SEC. But the team that is, Auburn struggled on the road against. And how you play against Georgia is going to be massive in how you play against Tennessee next week. And of course, hopefully you get Johni Broome back by the end of the month, but you got a tough stretch of games to round out. Even February 1st, you have Ole Miss, who just beat Alabama. So yeah, very, very interesting game coming up. I think Auburn gets the win at Georgia. I think it's very close. I mean, looking at the likes of like Texas and South Carolina here by 5 points. I said that against Mississippi State, but I truly believe this game will be Auburn's biggest test since Duke. So I'm going to give it to Auburn again. I'm going to say Auburn 80 points, and I think Georgia can also keep up with them. I'm going to say Auburn gets 81. I'm going to say Georgia gets 75. A 6-point win for Auburn. But yeah, a tough game. It's going to be down to the wire. It feels like every time I want to watch Auburn basketball, I feel like it always ends up being down to the wire. But yeah, I wasn't able to fully watch Mississippi State. I was commentating for high school basketball, but I was shocked to have known that it was not a very close game. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Auburn, 81-75. As we go on, just to talk about Auburn women's basketball for a second, I don't think it's worth doing a preview of this game. If Auburn came up with a win, I'd be shocked. But they're playing number 7 Texas. Auburn on a 5-game skid so far, but I don't think they played Texas tonight at 6. I'm not. I think Deona Gaston's going to have a great game. It's going to be a game against their former team. But Texas is really good. And sadly, I just don't think Auburn will be able to win here. Of course, they do have a new player on their team as Yu-Ting. I can't say her last name. Yu-Ting Dang. There we go. I was blanking on it because all I saw was just Yu-Ting on the on Auburn's Twitter pages. But yeah, Yu-Ting Dang is going to be. I believe she said on the video that she was going to see the Auburn family like today. So I believe she'll be able to play. I don't know if she will, but it would be a massive get if she is able to play tonight. But yeah, I'm just not until Auburn gets some players off of an injury report. It's gonna be tough to see a lot of these games against ranked teams to be wins. Because after Texas, you got Missouri. I mean, Missouri's not the greatest team in the world. Neither is Mississippi State or Florida, but they're still very good teams. And of course, they're not as injury prone as Auburn is. And Missouri is like right above Auburn in terms of SEC rankings, and that's 15 out of 16. After Missouri and Mississippi State, who's 7th in the SEC. After that, you got Florida, who's 10th in the SEC. My math doesn't be good. 10th. And then after that, you got South Carolina. And then you got 7 more games left before the end of the season. Got to turn some things around because if you keep struggling down the road, if you can't get healthy, I mean, you're looking at a team that would have to win the conference tournament to get into March Madness. And I just don't know if Auburn will be able to do that with how good the SEC is. So my best bet is just get healthy. That's the best I can tell for Coach Jay and company. When this team is healthy, I fully believe this team could do a lot of damage in the SEC. But it just hasn't been healthy, and it sucks. But I do think Texas is going to win that game. But that's going to do it for some of the College League podcast. A quick little episode, 15-minute basketball episode, previewing and reviewing games. I'm Dylan Larck on Twitter. I also have an Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLENLARCK. You also find me right here in the College League podcast. Where you like, comment, subscribe. Leave your thoughts. Who do you think? Do you think Auburn will get the dub at Georgia? If so, why? And don't forget to check us out on social media platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All those at The College Loop. And don't forget to check out the audio versions of the show as well on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Now, basically, with all that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop podcast. And as always, War Eagle.